All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the special 100th episode of the Wealth Building for Dummies podcast. My name is Kyle Demian. I'm joined here with Renji Matthew. And yes, today is our 100th podcast. We were just talking about, we don't know how it's already been 100 podcasts, but we started about a year ago. So I guess it makes sense when you're doing, initially we were doing a few a week. And then we kind of got to like every other week we were doing podcasts and about two a week. And now we're doing a podcast about once a week or so. But man, to reflect back on 100 episodes is pretty cool. And that's what we're going to be talking about and kind of diving in today. We've got a lot of stuff in the works behind the scenes, a lot of cool things that as long as everything comes to fruition, we're going to be having some great content coming out as far as the wealth building journey and how to help you guys get financially free. So if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe below because you guys are going to want to be posted in and getting updates and getting alerts when we start coming out with some of the opportunities that we have working behind the scenes. But man, I'll tell you what, Renji, when we started the podcast, I don't know, I guess what my expectations were for it, but we definitely didn't have a goal set out of like, hey, we're going to do this amount of episodes. But it was more so just like, hey, let's meet, let's collaborate, let's share our ideas, what we're doing, how we're helping clients, and like, let's just grow it from there. But getting to 100 episodes, I think is pretty cool. I saw a statistic the other day that most podcasts don't make it beyond like 3 or 4 episodes. It sounds cool to have a podcast and you try it out and you do a couple of different podcasts and then what most people I think realize is that, oh man, I'm producing podcasts, but nobody's listening, right? And I think most people just kind of give up, which can be natural, and I get it. And I think we still only have like 200 subscribers or so, but also perspective. 200 people in a room is a lot of people, right? So sometimes we see, oh, I only got 200 views on a video, only have 200 followers. Like you're making an impact on 200 people's lives, right? And with everything that we have coming out and how we want to, get more on social media and school and so forth, like I know the number's only going to grow, right? Everything takes time. Nothing was built overnight, but let's talk about enough for me, I guess. That's the first 3 minutes of just me talking. Renji, I'd love to hear your insights and your thoughts on the podcast and your reflections back on us reaching 100 episodes, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely is cool because, like you said, I don't think we really thought much about, we just thought, okay, let's do a podcast. We didn't think we would, at least I know I didn't think we would get to 100 first off, and having all the guests that we've gotten on and I think those have been my favorite ones, so it's just been cool to see how the podcast has evolved. And like you said, not most people that started don't last that long, which I honestly didn't think we would last this long, because
Right.
I remember thinking, I was like, what all are we going to talk about? But I'm glad it's evolved into talking about wealth building, and not only that, but passive income and, the power that could bring for people with financial freedom and all that. So, and having all the wonderful guests we've had on to show people, hey, it is doable. It's not something that we're just talking about it. There's people doing it. So, and it's the same thing goes for the podcast too. So like you mentioned, the statistics are that it doesn't go past a certain amount usually. So, and like you said, we only have 200 followers that are watching, but it's the essentially taking action, right? You're taking action, and consistently putting in that work is the biggest thing, because those financial victories and all of those will come as long as you're putting in the action every day and being consistent with whatever you're doing. And I think we've had several podcasts on this alone talking about taking action first off, instead of just sitting on the sidelines and thinking about it forever and seeing other people do it. Do your own thing, start taking your action. And then after you start taking action, then being consistent with it, because success doesn't happen overnight. We've seen those graphs where it goes like this, goes up and down, up and down, up and down. Then it just goes up like crazy, but that's because of days, months, years of taking consistent action and making it. That consistent action is not so much about what it's going to produce through income or how many episodes or whatever. It's more about you growing as a person, right? Because
Mm,
you need to
yeah.
go through that growth to become successful, and when you become successful, to stay successful. Because if you're growing as a person, your mindset and all this stuff, when success comes, you'll know how to handle it and keep the success. Because I think that's something we've learned other people don't do so well, and I think we've talked about this a lot, that I didn't do so well in the past. So
Hmm.
so it's cool to see that we are at the 100th episode, because hey, we were consistent, so that's a win.
Yeah. For me, this the same thing. Just the ability to stay consistent. I think it's definitely absolutely helped the fact that we did this together. If it was just
Yeah.
me, I would have ran out of ideas like 85 episodes ago, you know. But through collaboration with you, your awesome wife Nina, you know, my girlfriend Kirsten, just the ideas have never really stopped, and I think that's what's been great. And also, we've leveraged, and we wouldn't be our podcast wouldn't be what it is, or I don't think we would have made it to 100 episodes if we didn't start incorporating guests as
Yep.
well. So, like, shout out to the guests that we've had on that have brought so much insight and knowledge, and dropped a lot of free game. And which it's funny. We talked about free information yesterday and how um, you know, most people don't take the free information or the education. We'll talk about that for another podcast. But just to shout out some of our guests that we've had on, Moneyman Myers, you know, one of our mentors that we've known for, wow, going on probably 5 years or so. He dropped a lot of information on just getting into assets, and he's what's opened our brain to like getting into passive income, and how when your passive income is greater than your expenses, now you're financially free. So to me, in my family growing up, financial freedom was always something that was like 40 years away. You know, maybe you're lucky enough to be able to retire one day if you work for 40 years. And he first opened my mindset to like, hey, it doesn't have to be the case. So Will shared a lot of great insights on that podcast. If you guys haven't watched it, go watch that again. And then we had the two boss nurses come in and tell us that, you know, even if you are a full-time nurse, you can still go out and get into real estate and make real estate pretty passive. And they're doing Airbnb, which most people would think is probably less passive than other real estate opportunities, but they talk all about that on their podcast, which we did with the boss nurses just a month ago, maybe. We had Richard Taylor come on telling us how to purchase real estate without using any of your own money, or how to wholesale real estate without using any of your own money, and how to do it creatively to actually provide solutions for the sellers and for other investors. That was a great episode. And geez, good thing we caught him when he did, because his whole page and his business has really escalated. So
Yeah.
maybe it was because of our podcast. Who knows? No, just kidding. Not taking anything away from Richard. He's a great guy. Jeff the entrepreneur, Matt Lee, they both came in and talked a lot about, you know, the mindset, the motivation side to business, networking. Jeff is probably one of the greatest networkers I've ever seen, at least on social media. He's just everywhere. Talk about omnipresence. That's Jeff. And then Matt with his message on allergic to average, and just, you know, changing your mindset was so powerful. I loved that conversation we had with Matt. And then Amy Mock and Amrinder Kamboj. These are two. Well, I guess Amy was our last podcast that we just did.
Mhm.
And what I liked about the podcast with Amy is that I had a big aha moment when she was talking, because we've probably all heard the sayings before, like it takes money to make money, right? But that's probably one of the secrets to the wealthy, is that they know that, and they actually take money and make money babies, and keep producing
Mhm.
money, right? The compound interest.
Yeah.
um Amy talked about a way that anybody, the average person, can go from where they're at to get business funding, to start using that funding to go out and, guess what, make more money with it. So that podcast was a big aha moment, because it takes money to make money, yes. And I think everybody knows that, but they're not actually taking action on it. Amy talks about how to actually get the money so that you can go make more money with it. And Rinder's podcast was great. I mean, he dropped a lot of information. and Rinder's a really great guy and has a lot of business acumen. I learned a lot from him on that podcast. And especially when he was talking about, the 5% income model and just other ways to grow money that's not in the stock market, which is a lot about what we talked about when we started this podcast, right? Was traditional retirement, using IULs and becoming your own bank. And now we've learned even more strategies to growing and building wealth, just in the last 12 months. We had Mark Bautista and Jeff Muth come on teaching us how to build vending machine businesses and how to scale and grow those. We had Dublin LaGuardia, Quinn Brownfield, and Nina Matthew to kind of round us out. Nina gave us all the tips and tricks on social media growth and how she's, done a lot of your editing and a lot of your, social media stuff for you, Renji. Nina, by the way, is Renji's wife. So we did have a special guest. I think she was the first technically guest that we had on, but that was a great episode just talking about social media. Dubs, good old Dubs. He talked about transportation and how he's made a lot of passive income over the past through transportation industry. There's the United States of America runs on transportation, how goods get across the country. And that's what Dubs has probably 20 years or so of experience in. So he dropped a lot of good insights on there. And then lastly, our guy Quinn dropped a lot of knowledge on, I guess not so much investing, but like purchasing a vehicle, which, buying cars is usually the second largest purchase that each person makes over the course of their lifetime, besides their house. But, buying cars, and I have some past experience in the car industry. I used to sell cars for a year or two, but, and so did Quinn. He gave the knowledge and the expertise that of, how you can actually negotiate better car deals and some different things to be aware of the next time you go to purchase a car, and what to ask for, what to do, what to say to make sure that these car dealerships aren't taking advantage of you. So I believe that's all of our guests. I hope we didn't miss anybody. I don't think we did. But man, what is that? I don't know, 10, 11, or 12 guests that we had on. And so, Renji, I'm not sure if there was anything else that you wanted to add, but I think just the different insights and just the change in, pace that each of these people brought, sharing their expertise, sharing their insights, sharing their knowledge, I think was huge. And we're so grateful and thankful for everybody that came on.
Yeah, it's such a blessing to be able to be connected with these people first off, and then getting the privilege to have them on our podcast was another privilege. So it's been cool to learn from them and see how what they're teaching, they're practicing what they're teaching, and us being able to adapt and take on what they're doing to help ourselves and our audience has been great. And you mentioned, Kirsten and Nina being behind the scenes. Most of you that are watching, you guys probably never will see them much, but if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do this as efficiently as we are. Like Kyle said, Nina is the one that does all my editing. I wouldn't have a social media presence if it wasn't for her. So it's you guys don't get to see them as much, but thank you guys for being behind the scenes and doing all this stuff for us, because we wouldn't be here without you guys. So, yeah, and then all the guests, and I think they've all impacted us somehow, some way. But it's been cool to have some of these people on our podcast, because they're like some of these people are multimillionaires, and on their way to become billionaires, I'm sure, So it's been
Yeah.
cool to have them on our podcast and dropping knowledge, and I'm sure we'll have some of them back on again in the future. So we're excited because, guys, like, let's talk about what's to come, because I feel like we're gonna have so many more guests that will come on, and I think we'll be able to provide more and more value for you guys, because at the end of the day, that's what this podcast, we want it to be about. We want to be able to provide value to you guys that are watching, because it's knowledge that we got from other people. So we want to pass it along and, pay it forward to others to be able to, like Kyle said, a lot of the stuff was free, right? So it's knowledge that we probably had to pay for, or other people had to pay to learn all these things, but we're providing it free. So hopefully this is providing a lot of value to all of you that are watching. But my only request is that you take action, because it doesn't matter if we provide all this knowledge and you're just sitting there listening and not actually using the knowledge, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to bring you that financial freedom and that wealth that you're wanting to build, is taking that action. It doesn't matter how many books you read, how many podcasts you listen to, what all we put out that you listen to. If you're not taking action, what does it matter at the end of the day? You can have all
Yeah.
the head knowledge, but if you don't take that and go use it and apply it to gain that experience, yes, you'll still have failures. Yes, you will still go through struggles that we might not be going through, but that is part of the journey that you have to go through to gain that growth and to have that wealth. Because if you never struggled, you never got to grow. You
Mm.
want to go through struggles. Yes, it sucks, but you want to go through those struggles to be able to grow, to become the person that you need to become to be successful and stay successful. Because if you never went through those struggles, when you get to success, you're not going to be able to keep it. And I'm speaking from experience because it's happened to me many times in the past, because I wasn't willing to grow in the past. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we'll definitely have more knowledge. We'll drop. We'll have more guests that we'll bring on. We're trying to provide as much value as we can. But at the end of the day, please take it and apply it. And we're here to help you guys if you have questions too.
Absolutely. And with that, as far as, what's to come in the future, I guess we don't know, right? What is to come in the future? Who knows? But just providing you guys with more insights, and I think actually, here is what's to come in the future with what we're planning and what we're working on. Um, there's a lot of information that's already out there about real estate and about these other traditional investment strategies and ways to grow money. What we're going to be starting to, what we are going through right now ourselves, and what we're going to be start talking about more is actually some of the more creative side. So syndication models, private money lending, um, what was the other one? Like venture capitalists. These are some of the things that now typically you have to be an accredited investor for. And that's either having multiple millions of dollars of net worth or be making, a couple six figures per year, a little bit over, just the traditional six-figure mark. And you have to be like almost certified to be able to get access to some of these different types of investment models that are out there. And now here's the thing. Um, the wealthy have access to different ways to grow and build money than the average everyday American does. And I think most people realize that and they get that. But what we are working on is bringing some of these models to the average everyday American. So
Yeah.
like that's some of the things that we're working on coming out with in the future, and just some different ways of, leverage. We talked about the podcast with Amy, and it was the last podcast. If you guys haven't watched it, once again, go back and watch it. But she talks about how to get access to funding and money to go out and grow and build real estate, or to build your business or to scale it and make more money. And so like that's one of the things that we're working on right now in the background, I guess, is a little bit of insight, is ways that we can leverage that money, borrow money, regardless of the interest rate. As long as you can borrow money at an interest rate and then go out and make more money than what that interest rate is, that's exactly what the wealthy do. And that's exactly how they don't pay much in taxes, because they're borrowing and leveraging against their other assets. That's exactly how they're continuously making money and having their money make more money, is by just leveraging their money into these different vehicles and avenues that are out there. And so those are some of the things that are going to be coming up. We might keep more of it behind like our private school community, because some of these strategies that we're going to be talking about are going to be so niche and so, I guess, individualized, like depending on where you're at. Like if you already have good credit, perfect. I think you're ready to go. If you don't have good credit, maybe we got to work on that and get that fixed, right? If you already have some money to invest, perfect. You're ready to go. If you don't have any money, we got to start with where you're at and help you build up and save up your first $10,000 to help you go and grow and scale that. So as we continue to go on more and more, we're going to keep the podcast. We're going to keep it going because of, just a lot of the positives that have come out of it over the last 12 months. But we're also going to be growing and scaling a school community where, as of right now, at the time of this recording, it is X amount of dollars. I don't want to say it because we don't know what the price is going to be in the future, but get in while you can. So we'll have the school community linked below, but we've got a lot of things that are coming that are going to be able to take anybody from where they're at and to get them to financial freedom, or at least that is the goal, right? So, with that, if you guys are watching this, click the link below if you guys want to get access to our school community. And, Renji, anything else that we should talk about today for our podcast? I think we talked about it before. Hey, we're just going to keep this really relaxed and lean back, and I guess kind of lenient.
Yeah, I mean,
And
like at the end of the
yeah, go
day,
ahead.
like Kyle said, we're gonna keep trying to provide value and value that anyone, like he said, anyone can create wealth and build it and keep it, right? At the end of the day, though, it only matters if you can take action. We are providing free value, but most people, when it's free, don't take it and use it. So that's why our private school community, we started charging, because otherwise people won't use it. We're just sitting there providing value that isn't being used, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, guys, take action. Use the information that we're providing and take action. And we're here to help. If you have more questions, reach out. Like, that's what the school community is there for. Also, reach out. You have our platforms that we're on, all the social media. Reach out to all of that. If you need help, like, we're here for you. Use us to get to your next level if that's what you need to do, right? Not saying we're at a level that people need to get to or nothing like that. I'm just saying use the information we have that we provide to get to where you need to get to. Use it however you need to. As long as you take action, you will get farther than you are. That's all I gotta say.
For sure. And yeah, and with that, like when you pay attention. And anybody that does any like sports gambling, right? Whether it's on the side, if you throw a few bucks here and there, if you're going to be betting on the Super Bowl coming up, as we're recording, it's going to be this weekend. But if you ever sports bet, I would venture to say you pay more attention to that game than you do any of the other games that are on, right? And so that's a perfect example of when you pay attention. Same thing that comes to education. Because here's the thing, all the things that we're talking about, you can find yourself on the internet through ChatGPT, through going on YouTube, through going to other people's free school courses and communities. Here's the thing, all the information is already out there. You just haven't went and looked for it. You haven't went and done it for one reason or another. But here's the thing, if you ever pay for something, you for sure go through that information. You for sure apply it. You for sure go into and get inundated in it. And that's happened to me. I can't tell you how many times I've reached out to other creators on social media when they're giving away something for free, and I'll comment and say, hey, I want that, free PDF you're talking about. Guess how many times I've ever read any of those free PDFs? Probably less than 10%. I have a bunch of them actually, probably still sitting in my inbox right now. But anything that I've ever paid for, I have read it. I have paid attention. I've went through it. When I'm buying books, I've read the books. I've gotten free ebooks. Guess how many of those free ebooks I've ever read? None of them. So when you pay, you tend to pay attention, which is exactly what we want. And regardless of whatever the investment or the cost is to join our school community, as long as you're there paying attention and actually applying what we're talking about, whatever nominal amount we charge for the community, you are going to make a lot more back. We'll just say that, as long as you apply and do some of the things that we're talking about. So with that, Renji, it's been an awesome 100 episodes. I'm looking forward to the next 100. I think a lot of key business lessons came out of this podcast too. This was essentially like
Yeah.
another business that we started. Haven't really monetized it or anything. This is all purely for education and just helping people. So I guess it wasn't technically a business, but it was more like a fun project for us. But I'll tell you what, there were some days where I didn't want to do the podcast. I was like, what are we going to talk about today? But
Yeah.
having somebody else to rely upon to say like, hey, I can't let Renji down. We got to do our podcast. I'm going to do it anyways, even if I don't want to do it. These things go across and apply to other businesses as well. So like we talked about earlier, just be consistent, take action, take the next steps. The best way to accomplish any goal or any large task is just to take a step, take some action, right? There was a saying the other day that apparently my girlfriend had never heard of, but the best way to eat an elephant is to take a bite at a time. And she was like, why would you eat an elephant? And I'm like, don't listen to the words, just listen to get the idea, get the concept, right? But with anything, thank you guys so much for supporting. Take action. If we could be of support in any way, just let us know. We'll have our social medias linked below. If you guys like this podcast episode, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to our page. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means the world to us, and the cost to us is priceless. We appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.